The author of Hunter x Hunter, Yoshihiro Togashi, was asked in a Japanese interview in the early 2000s, "How did you come up with your Nen magic battle system?" Togashi responded, "I simply made it as real as possible." The interviewer laughs and blows off the answer like it was a joke. I don't think he was joking. Now, I have trouble finding this interview again because it was on the old wiki online, but he said something like, "I just made it as much like real life as possible." And what he's talking about when I say Nen magic system is widely considered the best magic system in all of fiction, all fantasy, all comic books, all everything. It's considered the best magic system. And he said it's based on real life. So it kind of makes sense that real life would have the best magic system, right? Anyway, let me get into Hunters. For those that are unfamiliar with the anime Hunter x Hunter, here's a quick rundown.
Strange beasts and monsters, vast riches, hidden treasures, evil haunts, uncharted frontiers, the mysterious unknown. The people who are captivated by the magic in those words are called Hunters.
Hunter Association is a non-governmental organization. NGOs, low-key control the world, look into it, responsible for the testing and licensing of hunters, individuals who have proven themselves through the rigorous exam to be elite members of humanity. Many people die trying to pass the Hunter exam. With the passing of the Hunter exam, an applicant is rewarded with a license. Exam requires that the hunter learns this magic system called Nen, N-E-N. Once the secret exam is passed, hunters are allowed access to 95% of all ancient ruins on Earth, access to all government secret projects, complete unfettered access to places like the Smithsonian, the Library of Congress, the Vatican vaults, etc. They are also given complete diplomatic immunity, a license to pretty much do whatever they want, except certain things like murder or venturing past the Antarctic ice wall. It's called the Dark Continent in Hunter x Hunter, but that's like the one thing they can't do is go to Antarctica. Typically, hunters devote themselves to tracking down priceless items, exploring mystical places, and tracking the unseen wonders of the world. There exists 800 or so hunters. 60 of the top 100 richest humans on the planet are hunters. Becoming a millionaire is considered the easiest rank. The Nen users are subtly the true rulers of the realm. Nen is the magic system of Hunter x Hunter.
Nen is a power that dwells within every single human person. However, at the present time, only a few are capable of using that power. And because of their ability, they are treated as geniuses, leaders, psychics, sages, and even superhumans.
A power that dwells within everyone?
Yes, and there are means by which to awaken this power, but only two. Either slowly and carefully or by force.
It's basically human belief, human faith. Don't believe me? What's a placebo? All medical and drug studies are required to specifically account for something called the placebo effect. Why do they do that? It is because if the patient given the drug believes that they are being given a miracle cure drug, they will miraculously heal themselves despite being given nothing but a salt or saline tablet or nothing. There were so many instances where a patient healed simply because they believed to be receiving a miracle cure that the entire medical and drug industry had to invent the term placebo effect and specifically neutralize the placebo effect during studies. Name another drug that must be specifically accounted for during all medical and drug studies. This essentially means that placebo is by far the world's strongest drug. Nothing else comes remotely close. The placebo effect is human belief. It says it right in the definition. In my opinion, 99.99% of the human race have almost zero conscious control over their own beliefs. Why do you believe what you believe? Think about it. Like, really think about it. It's a lot of times it's even subconscious. And real magic requires legitimate self-mastery. In order to consciously control our own beliefs, which includes negotiating contracts with the spiritual realm, like Nen in this show, to attain abilities that exceed the confines of natural law, our spirit must be adequately strong enough to handle and understand the responsibilities required. Consciously controlling our beliefs can work for most anyone, for better or worse, but the level of influence or effectiveness is drastically dependent on the spiritual strength and self-mastery, aka do you truly know yourself? Do you truly believe in yourself? And you might be thinking like, okay, how people can do miracles and magic and their spiritual powers like this, like what do you mean by that? Like, well, what I mean by it is like the saints, like they were like basically wizards of old. They could do all kinds of stuff. I've listed it on my website. I listed like over 100 cases of levitation, bilocation, or teleportation of saints. And this is just from the Wikipedia articles. There's a type of book called a hagiography, which it details the miracles of saints. I haven't been able to find any of them, but apparently they exist. And it like goes into their actual miracles, which is basically spiritual powers, right? Or magic, or whatever you want to call it. It's called Nen in this anime. And Nen is clearly, possibly, like an analogy for Zen. Zen, like Zen Buddhism, Zen. Nen and Zen are very similar. So like, here's maybe perhaps this will explain it better. Imagine if you grew up from childhood learning real information, not complete lies. Like, we were lied. The world is lied to about everything. I'm sure most people are starting to realize that now. Think about all the time you spent at school learning nonsense. Think about all the time you spent playing sports. Like, I used to play when I was a kid. I was playing 4 sports at one point, every weekend, every night, every weekend, every night, practice or games, a countless amount of time. And then school is like 6 hours a day every week, like for like 35 weeks out of the year, from age 6 to age 22. Those are your prime years of like puberty, of growing into your body and stuff. That's all put into these lies. Imagine if you didn't do any of that and you spent that time learning stuff like this spiritual power stuff that's useful, stuff that like learning about finances, learning about things that are useful in the real life, not calculus. I'm a computer programmer. I had to take Calculus 3 in college. I've not used calculus once ever in computer programming. It is much, much faster just to use a algebra trick. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like, imagine if you took all that time that you spent at school learning nonsense and you put it towards something like learning spiritual powers or something like that. Training your body, training to know yourself. That's what these people are like. None of these hunters or Nen users are people that that went to school. A lot of them are orphans, or they lived on like a small island or a weird tribe, or that they're like assassins, children of world-class assassins or something like that, where they don't go to school. It's obvious that school is like mind control. I don't know, but just imagine that's where I'm coming from.
Aura is the life energy produced by all living bodies. It is vital for survival and directly linked to one's stamina. The points on the body from which aura flows out are called aura nodes. Additionally, aura is invisible to non-Nen users. It can only be seen after the aura nodes in the eyes are opened. Nonetheless, sensitive individuals can feel its presence without being aware of its existence. In normal conditions, the aura from all parts of the body tends to flow together, producing one mass of energy. People who have not trained in Nen will leak aura similar to water vapor boiling out from a kettle. It has been described as feeling like a warm, viscous fluid at rest, whereas hostile or powerfully refined auras produce a sensation that feels akin to needles pricking into the skin.
Aurora, or aurora nodes. I know a lot of people, including me, I've always thought like aurora nodes are kind of like woo-woo or not legitimate, but I've come to a different conclusion. This is going to sound kind of crazy, but I once did a night in the woods. I wanted to do something like the Indians, the Spartans, where they go out into the woods and they have to survive for a certain amount of time with they're given nothing when they start, and then they all they have really is their wits about them. And I just did it overnight, one night in the woods in the summer. I didn't have anything. My cell phone was in my car. My car was like a mile away. I was just like, and it was pitch black. And it started thunderstorming at 1 a.m. But I made it through the night, and the biggest issue was the bugs. I got so many mosquitoes that bit me that it was like insane. Like over 100 mosquito bites. My theory is like mosquitoes are a natural deterrent. They remove like toxins from the blood of animals and humans. Anyway, so they're not just like annoying little shits, you know what I mean? Like there's a purpose to them. The next morning, I go home, I get a shower, and I'm looking at my shoulders were covered in these little red dots, and the red dots were like evenly spaced, like a, I don't know, half a centimeter apart each one. There was like 50 of them on each of my shoulder. Not 50, I don't know, like 25 or something. But they were perfectly spaced. Like the mosquitoes were opening the aurora nodes on my body. There's 2 ways to learn Nen, and one is like you grow up with it and you get taught it gradually, and the other way is you go through an initiation, like a baptism of fire. And going into the woods, spend the night in the woods is a initiation, a baptism of fire, right? I think this is another reason why all the old tribes, all the old Indian tribes, the Spartans, the African tribes, they would send their men for a coming of age into the forest, and they had to survive for like a month. It would open all their aurora nodes because they're in nature. Mosquitoes are a factor, and it gets you more attuned to having your aurora open and controlling your aurora. That's why, and after I did that, I realized that aurora, there's something to aurora nodes.
A student learning then trains to manually open and close their aura nodes so that they can control the flow of their aura. There are two ways to achieve this. One is the slow and careful way, in which one gradually learns this process through meditation. The other method is the fast and risky way, colloquially called initiation or baptism, achieved by forcing the aura nodes to open via an influx of external aura.
Baptism, or Nen learning. Nen, it's like Aurora, Zen, whatever you want to call it. There's two ways to learn it. You can either grow up gradually cultivating it and getting better and better at it, slowly but surely, and it's safe, and there's no chance of it really messing up your psyche or your body or whatever. And then there's the second way, which is very quick, and it's called an initiation or a baptism, a Nen initiation or a Nen baptism. That's what it's called. And the way it's shown in the show is someone that could use Nen really well releases his aurora into the person and the reason why that's frowned upon is because if the person releases that aurora with any mal intent or isn't a master at it, it could harm the person. It could harm their psyche, their own aurora. They could give them mental issues, things like that. So you have to be a master to do it. And I think that kind of coincides with how these secret societies, they all have these things called initiation. It's called initiation. I even think the Rosicrucians actually do something that is very similar to the way in Nen that they determine what category you are or whatever. And it's by something called the water divination test. And I've heard the Rosicrucians actually, they do this. They do a water divination test on new initiates. And anyway, so all these secret societies, they all have an initiation. And it's a spiritual initiation. It's not necessarily Aurora, because Aurora is kind of spirit related. So it kind of is, but it's not. Or awakening, when people quote unquote awake, they become awake. That's an initiation where you become more aware of your spiritual being and your spiritual surroundings and your aurora, and you could just feel, you get your senses, your perception increases tenfold, right? That's what this initiation thing is. But if you look at the truther community, some of them are crazy. It wasn't a good initiation. They lost their family, their friends, because all they care about is this truther stuff, and they become shut-ins. They can't interact with people anymore. That's a failed initiation. That's why it's not supposed to happen that way. Especially with the see Ovid spell. I experienced this with some of my family, but I think I did a little better with my friends. But it was that was a mass initiation. That whole see Ovid thing was a mass initiation type thing where you either advance or you just don't pay attention to it and you just go along with the flow, or you advance and you have to handle the responsibility and the nuances of awakening. It's an initiation, and that's exactly what is taught in this show. Nen, it's Nen initiation or Nen baptism. I think back in ancient times, I think baptism wasn't just dunking your head under the water. It was to drown you, hold your head under the water until you drown, and then they would bring you back to life. So it's you officially die and then come back to life. That was the actual initiation, because it was now you know that there's something after death. Basically, that's what it was trying to say. Then it became, I don't know, through whatever Catholic Church, it became just dousing a little water on a baby or something. When it wasn't that, I don't think. It was sending you to. It was killing you and then bringing you back to life immediately, so that you know that there's something outside of this world. It's a rapid initiation or baptism. But yeah, I think that's the equivalent in the real world of initiation, like it is in Hunter x Hunter. Nen's relationship to emotion. It's once you master it, it's a way you can send out your intent as a vibe. Everyone's felt awkward in a situation, right? Well, that vibe is your auroric spirit had that vibe, that energy, that frequency, whatever you want to call it. And so when it's put out, if it's put out at a certain decibel level, for lack of word, or an amplitude, certain intensity, it's felt by everyone else in the room, right? I have some theories about this. For example, my favorite example is the game craps at a casino. In the game craps, It's oftentimes in movies and stuff. You see like a bunch of players and they're like cheering and they're throwing the dice and everyone's having a great time, right? If you ever played craps, I live about an hour from Atlantic City. I used to play it like every week when I was in my 20s. It's rarely like that. Most of the time, everyone's quiet. It's kind of like people are kind of miserable until someone starts winning. But I've since come to the conclusion that because the dice roll favorably based on the mood of the player. The dice rolling favorably is not what is affecting the mood. The mood is what is affecting the dice rolling favorably. The most money I've won in craps, it was a few times where me and my friends were out earlier that night. We got all tuned up. And we before we went to our rooms, we all decided to play craps. So it was like 8 of us all on the same table. And we were all kind of tipsy. We're all like shooting the shit, like having fun. And literally all of us would roll the dice like 30 to 50 times without crapping out. And it made us like all go even more crazy because I think it's because we showed up there on the table with a rowdy vibe, with a higher frequency vibe. So when we rolled the dice, the dice are rolling favorably for us, for the mood. The dice, like the chance, reacted to the frequency of the aurora, the nen emotion of the people at the table. That's what I'm trying to say. If you want to try to make money the opposite way to this, there's something called the no pass line in craps. And it's where you bet against the guy throwing the dice. You bet that he's going to crap out. So you're basically betting against everyone else at the table. And whenever it's like a taboo to do it. So whenever you do it, everyone else at the table gets like pissed at you. But that just amplifies the lowering of the mood of the vibes of the table. So therefore, the person does crap out almost every time. My one buddy used to do it every single weekend. I don't think he ever lost once just by playing the no pass line. But I mean, you gotta kind of have balls to do it because everyone hates you at the table if you do it because it's taboo. But that taboo, which is another interesting word, but that taboo, that vibrational frequency. That was like a low vibration frequency like that because they get like angry at you. They hate you. You know what I mean? Like it's a low vibration frequency and it amplifies that when you bet on that no pass line. And therefore it favors you because then it makes the dice roll unfavorably because of that frequency. And I think this is how emotion affects aurora. Intimidation is another good example of it. If you ever hear Mike Tyson talk about when he walks into the ring,
I keep my eyes on him, I keep my eyes on him, I keep my eyes on him. Then once I see a chink in his armor, boom, and one of his eyes may move, and then I know I have him. And then when he comes to the center of the ring, he still looks at me with his piercing look and as if he's not afraid. But he already made that mistake when he looked down for that 1/10 of a second. I know I had him. He'll fight hard for the first 2 or 3 rounds, but I know I already broke his spirit. During the fight, I'm supremely confident. I'm moving my head. He's throwing punches. I'm making them miss and I'm countering. I'm hitting him to the body. I'm punching him real hard. And when I'm punching him, I know he's not able to take my punches. 1, 2, 3 punches. I'm throwing him punches and bunches. He goes down. He's out. I'm victorious.
You can see that intimidation aurora of Mike Tyson. Like that was that raw, like wild animal aurora that he had. That intent that he would have. That's another example of it. Nen and nature. Most of the Nen users in this anime, and I think it's the same with real life, are very close with animals. They have an affinity towards animals. And you can kind of notice it with dogs. Like they'll bark at someone, even though the person's not doing anything to them, but they'll bark at them because they feel like they can like see or smell the spiritual energy of the person, spiritual aurora, the Nen aurora of a person. And it'll be like negative so that the dog will bark at it because they perceive it because they're wild animals. If you look into any like spiritual masters, they'll be like so like in tune with nature that like birds will just come up and like sit on their shoulder. Wild birds, like a little, I don't know, robin will just come and just sit on their shoulder. Or like deer will just come up to them. Because they live in the wild, they have like a extra sensory perception of aurora or spirit or energy, spiritual energy. And that's why most deer run. They flee from even just seeing a human. Most humans are that like we're not grounded. We're never grounded. We wear rubber shoes. We're always connected to the internet. We're always dealing with all kinds of like frequencies and whatnot. And in this anime, there's these things called magical beasts, which aren't animals, but they're also not unintelligent. They're like on the same level of intelligence as humans. They just live in the wild. One one style of them are like these reptilians. They're basically reptilians, and the other style of it is these like shapeshifters that are like, I don't know, like people talk about skinwalkers, which are supposedly Native American shaman that cast a post-mortem Nen curse on a land to protect it or something like that. So it's stronger after death. And these like magical beasts, they are able to control their aurora just like humans could if humans learn this. And it kind of reminds me of how big like a Bigfoot is like you never caught or never killed, because they have this extra, they're spiritually so far above people that are coming around trying to kill them with a gun or trying to like photograph them that they're like 20 moves ahead of the person. Even if they shot at them, it would probably have no effect because their spiritual aurora is so high that it would just like stop the bullet, something like that. And this is why I think I actually do think Bigfoots exist. Because I've heard some countless stories from people that had no reason, no business knowing about it, and it's like, I don't know. I know it's a little out there, but let's just say that they're spiritually advanced beings, far above. They're only going to be seen when they want to be seen by someone that they has a high spiritual aurora, I guess, and that's why they remain in nature. I don't know. It's like the magical beast of this anime. That's all I'm trying to say. That people, when you hear the words magical beast, people think, okay, that's stupid. Okay, but then you're like, okay, what's Bigfoot? What are skinwalkers? What are all these cryptids that people always talk about? There's been countless reportings of it. Even the Jersey Devil, which is where I live, there's been like all kinds of like police records of people seeing this thing. So there has to be some sliver of truth in all these different cryptids that live in nature. They could be considered magical beasts. Right? Okay, another example of this Nen aurora existing in real life and like how we can experience it in real life, or people have experienced it in real life, is Nen that occurs after death is more powerful than the Nen that happens during life. And it usually is more powerful when there's like an intense grudge after someone dies. And I've been hearing a lot about burial mounds or Indian burial mounds. And I have a theory that the Indian burial mounds are just like execution piles. Whoever conquered the continent, they would come in, find the Indians, kill them all, put them in a giant pile, and that would be the end of it. Or maybe they burn it after that or something like that. And over time that became a soil and it became like a mound. And there's like, everyone says that there's like this spiritual energy to it, this very strong spiritual energy to it. And that's because of the grudge from these killed Indians, killed Native Americans or whatever tribe they were. You can see this even with cemeteries, with just regular, even if there is no grudge. Sometimes like people that die, they have unfinished business. And if you there's all kinds of videos online. If you take a Tesla, the car, which has infrared sensors on it, you go through a graveyard, you can see that infrared sensors light up saying that there's someone in front of you or that there's someone to the left of you, and you can see like an outline on the screen of a human in the graveyard. So like the spirit is still there. It's like a post-mortem aurora, post-mortem spiritual energy, and it's usually stronger than when the person was alive. So that's why it remains there in the cemetery. Nen conditions. When you create a Nen ability in this show, it can include conditions in it to increase the power or to make the ability feasible in the first place, whether because the user lacks the degree of skill otherwise required or because the effects of the ability exceed what can be achieved in the person's mind through Nen. So there's a trade-off. Now, conditions is a very interesting topic. If some examples in the show would be like a character has to touch you and say a certain word to attach a Nen aurora ability to you, or they have to know your blood type. Like one character can read futures, but she has to know your blood type, your name, your full name when you were born, and your blood type, and you have to you can't read it or ask her any questions about the divination. And she writes, it's like automatic writing, and she gives it to you, and it's your future for the next 3 weeks or something like that. And the mafia uses it to like advance its power in the underworld. Another one is the character Corollo Lucifer. He is the head of the Phantom Troop, like the real Illuminati, worthy of ruling the underworld. He's basically Lucifer Morningstar. His power is that he can steal other people's powers. And the way it works is he needs them to answer a question. There has to be a witness to the question, to the person answering the question, and he has to get them to put their can on his books, and it has to all be done within 1 hour. And if he does that, then he steals the person's power and he can use it however he wants. But that sounds kind of, I don't know, crazy, right? Well, what does every single president, senator, congressman, general in military, judge, judicial judge, Supreme Court judge. What do? Literally the first thing they do when they come into office, they are asked questions. They repeat answers back to the person asking the question. There are witnesses, and the entire time they have their hand on the Bible. And this is literally the first thing they do when they come into office. So within 1 hour, they do that. So that's like the exact conditions required for Lucifer Morningstar to steal someone else's ability. So perhaps in real life, maybe when someone does this, when they swear in the Bible, they are giving consent to having their spiritual energy controlled by Lucifer. And that makes perfect sense. In the show, it sounds weird, right? But in real life, explain why every president and congressman has to do that. Has to put their left hand on the Bible. It has to be done within an hour. They answer questions, and there's a witness. The same exact conditions as Lucifer Morningstar or Chrollo Lucifer in the show. So it could be as simple as rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Like the main character in it, that's his conditions. He has to say rock, paper, scissors, shoot to either do a punch, which is rock, or a slice that goes through the air. That's scissors, and then a paper is a punch through the air, I guess. Like, it can be so simple. One character, his condition is the more times that he rotates his arm around his shoulder during a fight to the death, the stronger the punch will be. So if he rotates it 8 times, it'll be 8 times stronger than if he just punched the guy outright. But like, if it's in a fight to the death, that's not something you want to be doing in a fight to the death, is rotating your arm like a crazy person, right? And I think it has to do with the person's belief that the condition will work. Now, this all sounds nuts. I get it. But if you look into rapid hypnosis or hypnosis in general, how hypnotism works, every single hypnotist does something different. And each of the things that they do is a condition that they like subconsciously use to put someone under hypnosis very quickly. And it usually involves consent. They might just straight up ask the person, do you want to be hypnotized? Someone they see on the street. And if the person says yes, then they gave consent.
Super quickly. The most important part is you're open. You want to be hypnotized?
Of course.
Of course. All right. I love that. Not just yes, but of course. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'll take your hand.
Okay.
Have you focus on this hand. And I'm going to shake your hand 3 times. On the 3rd time, you're just going to drop right into an amazing state of relaxation, focus, just like you saw the others experiencing. 1, that's right, beginning to feel more relaxed and more focused on the sound of my voice. That's right. 2, feeling absolutely incredible and amazing. Always staying safe and balancing on your feet no matter how relaxed you get as you allow yourself to 3, sleep. Going all the way down to an amazing state of relaxation. Every muscle and nerve fiber. This arm, loose, limp, relaxed, falls down to your side now. Just like that.
What do you do for a living? Go to school. Go to school. Cool, man. Can we come over here? And just stop over there. Are you right-handed or are you left-handed? Right-handed. Give me a right hand. And just look at the sound of the Close your eyes and just sleep all the way down. All the way down. Completely letting go. That's right. All the way down. Deeper and deeper and deeper still. That's right. This hand could go down and just relax. This hand could go down and just relax. Letting that arm loose, limp,
and then they'll say something like, okay, stand right here in front of me. Give me your hand. Look into my eyes. And when I count to 3, 1, 2, 3, sleep. And the person will fall asleep. It's fascinating. The hypnotist is subconsciously choosing conditions that their subconscious mind thinks is enough to put someone under a spell. That's what hypnotism is. It's basically a spell. Certain conditions that are met under consent, and a spell occurs. Now, another thing that is interesting about conditions is think about the terms and conditions of corporations. Why are they always changing? They always change their conditions, and you have to accept it to use their app. Why is that so important to them that they change their conditions? It's to keep, like, it's a spell. It's basically a spell. These are the conditions. If you agree to the conditions, it's a contract. I mean, not a spell. A contract kind of is a spell. Spiritually, it's kind of a spell. Like an example of this is marriage. Like it's a contract, but by going through the ritual of marriage, it becomes like a spiritual contract. That's what this Nen stuff is. It's more like the spiritual contract aspect of it. And contracts, one of the first things in a contract, they require conditions, terms and conditions to set what the contract is going to be. And you can have a counter offer to the contract, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, conditions are a huge part of this system, and I think it's a huge part of real life. This is how they get people to do stuff that they normally wouldn't do. And a lot of times it's through tacit consent, which means they don't say no. Like it can be something really simple, like watching TV, watching the news. Just by watching the news, you're giving tacit consent to whatever they say to you. So if you get riled up and get like angry at the news because of some political candidate or something, you gave consent to it just by watching it. And they set the conditions by getting you riled up and angry. And that angry energy is like a spiritual aurora that's like feeding their agenda or whatever. It's all spiritual aurora contracts. That's basically what Nen is in this show. It's just more cartoonish.